Why Kardashians are the most toxic friends ever. Like so many others, we've been obsessed with keeping up with the Kardashians. Long after we gave up watching every episode of their multiple reality shows, we still followed every Kardashian and Kardashian-adjacent account on Instagram. We followed other celebrities too, but it was the Kardashians who dominated our timelines in all of their carefully filtered, monochromatic glory. Don't forget to watch today's video to the very end to learn why Kardashians are the most toxic friends ever. A lot of influence. After seeing hundreds of pieces of #SponCon from them for detox teas and waist trainers, not to mention countless artfully posed and edited selfies, and more than one child's birthday party that cost more than our actual weddings, we began to question why we were doing it to ourselves. The tight feeling in our chest every time we opened up Instagram wasn't pleasant. The distaste that filled our mouth whenever we scrolled through our feed wasn't adding to our life. The Kardashians aren't entirely to blame for those feelings. We're not hating on them. They're doing their thing, and they're doing it well. Of course, there are many things they do that are worth questioning and criticizing, but the blanket hate some people direct towards them is tired and too often rooted in misogyny. Not our thing. Here's what we realized though. Their thing is not our thing. It doesn't spark joy, and Mary Kondo would not approve. And we know we're not the only one. A growing body of research is making connections between the ideal world presented by celebs and influencers on Instagram and the low self-esteem and poor mental health of the platform's users. Celebrities like the Kardashians often portray an idealized and highly edited version of their lives and their appearance on Instagram, says Dr. Jasmine Fardoli of Macquarie University, who has done extensive research in this area. When viewing these posts, users often internalize these ideals and compare their own appearance to the other celebrities, judging themselves to be less attractive. This in turn can make users more dissatisfied with their own appearance, put them in a negative mood, and encourage them to engage in behaviors that change their appearance. We can't say we ever change our appearances because of the Kardashians, but they certainly didn't make us feel good about it, and we're really tired of not feeling good about it. Would we suddenly be out of the loop? Would we miss their constant stream of content? Well, it's been about 4 months since we unfollowed the clan, and we're pleasantly surprised to be able to say that no, we don't miss it at all. In fact, we feel a palpable relief at having cut it out of our life. Now when we open up Instagram, we feel a sense of joy and delight. A conscious effort. Because not only did we unfollow the Kardashians and a bunch of other celebs, we made a conscious effort to seek out and follow accounts that would make us feel good, not just cute cake artists, funny meme accounts, or family and friends that we care about, but also body-positive Instagrammers who celebrate their fat bodies and style them in beautiful ways. Our research suggests that viewing body-positive posts may actually improve how women feel about their bodies and put them in a more positive mood, says Dr. Fardoli. Preliminary research also suggests that viewing natural no-makeup images on Instagram alongside users' glamorous makeup images may be better for body image. Viewing parody images of celebrity posts like Australian comedian Celeste Barber's posts may also be positive for body image. That's the thing about social media. We actually have a lot of control over what comes into our feeds, like the people we surround ourselves with in real life. We can choose to wallow in toxicity or inflict ourselves with negative influences, or we can put that stuff in the garbage where it belongs, or at least out of our feeds, and instead actively engage with things that bring us joy. That's exactly what we did. And our lives are so much better for it. Now the only thing that suffers when we open up Instagram is our bank account, because there's so much incredible body positive style inspiration on our feed, and it makes us want to buy all of the things. But hey, it still makes me a lot happier than another Kylie Jenner lip kit. Documenting a luxe spa party. 7 years ago, photographer Lauren Greenfield was documenting a spa party at Beverly Hills, California, where guests were treated to massages and paraffin treatments. For Greenfield, who has spent 25 years documenting a growing obsession with wealth around the globe. The party was not particularly extraordinary. What was out of the norm, however, was that the spa party was for tweens rather than adults, one of whom was Kylie Jenner. Since that spa party, Kylie, one contoured tentacle of the Kardashian family's multimedia empire, has gone on to become a beauty mogul, whom Forbes recently declared on track to become the youngest self-made billionaire in history, depending on how one defines self-made. Maybe it's some self-fulfilling prophecy to see her as this entrepreneur and as successful as I guess everybody in her family is, Greenfield said in a recent interview. Absurd examples of affluence. In Generation Wealth, out in theaters Friday, Greenfield doesn't just track the most absurd examples of affluence in today's culture, showing a woman who owns Birkin bags, which retail for upwards of $4,000. Prices can climb into six figures in nearly every color, 24K gold toilets, couture-clad oligarch skits at a Maserati-sponsored debutante ball in Moscow, plastic surgery for dogs, a character called Limo Bob who wears $1 million worth of jewelry and holds the Guinness World Record for the longest limousine, and Florian Halm, a cigar-smoking hedge fund manager who declares himself a real-life Gordon Gekko before he made the FBI's most wanted list on charges of fraud. Greenfield also attempts to explain how society arrived here, a moment when, to paraphrase Greenfield's son Noah in the documentary, we know the names of the Kardashian family members better than we know the names of our own neighbors. The American dream has always had materialistic component, Greenfield said, explaining how that ideal has mutated as we've gained greater access to celebrities and their mansions, private jet rides, and five-star vacations via tabloids and social media. We've always wanted to own a home with a white picket fence and have that stability, but I think that what's happened here is that we used to compare ourselves to our neighbors who maybe had a little bit more than we did. Now these images of luxury and affluence are so present in our life through media that research shows we start to think that wealth is more common and normal than it is. Research shows that people start to think that everybody's got pools and everybody's got maids, and then they want those things. So we have this crazy aspirational gap where there's no correlation between what people can afford and what they want. A bar mitzvah. Greenfield sorted through 500,000 of her own photographs in assembling this documentary, including snapshots of a 12-year-old Kim Kardashian, a bar mitzvah with adult go-go girls as entertainment, and children brandishing $100 bills along the way. Greenfield also explores the subject of fame, speaking to children who grew up around it and how it affects the already awkward coming-of-age experience. Asked whether celebrity social media feeds are toxic to society, Greenfield did not hesitate. Definitely. In a way, I never really thought about the title Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Greenfield continued, but it's so brilliant because that's exactly what people want to do, compare themselves to not only celebrities but fictional representations of people. It's not only airbrush people edited on television, but it's your friends on social media who might be out at a better party than you are. I think for teenagers, that's so powerful. Through social media, they always have that FOMO feeling. It's kind of like we have society FOMO now. People think that whatever they're doing is not good enough, and that's exactly what Generation Wealth is for me. It's not about money, fame, beauty, or youth. It's really about everybody wanting to be other than they are, and not feeling like enough, and kind of striving for this thing we never get, which is really more about addiction than about an actual goal, like a certain amount of money or lifestyle. Society FOMO. Greenfield traces the media progression in inspiring this society FOMO. First, there was Robin Leach and lifestyles of the rich and famous. Then there was reality television, which transported audiences into the immaculate mansions of movie stars and their economic bracket ilk, courtesy of MTV's Cribs, My Super Sweet 16, and other programming engineered to feed a culture's monetary fascination. Then came social media. Greenfield hopes that newer generations bred on these apps will realize it wasn't always like this, with these images of luxury and kind of obscene wealth dominating our media. When I was little, there were shows like All in the Family, and the Jeffersons, programming centered on working-class families. Asked how Greenfield thinks that Kardashians might react to her documentary, the filmmaker said, "Well, Kim did Instagram the picture I took of her at 12, which appears in the documentary, but I think she took it out of W magazine." Earlier this year, Greenfield flew to Norway for the opening of her Generation Wealth exhibit at the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo, comprising over 150 photographs from the USA, Brazil, Canada, Dubai, the Philippines, France, Hong Kong, Russia, and more, as well as interviews and short films. The event organizers had invited several women they call the Kardashians of Oslo or Norway, who have their own TV show. I asked whether they understood what the exhibit is about, because it is kind of critical of the Kardashian influence, but they love the show. They said this is our time, so I think that there is some comfort for people in, I'm not saying the Kardashians in particular, but young people who are wrapped up in this. There is some comfort in seeing it reflected somehow. Just as guilty. As critical as Greenfield may be of Generation Wealth and the role models responsible for it, the filmmaker is quick to point out that she is just as guilty of feeding into it as anyone. Part of the reason why I included myself in the film is to say that we're all complicit in Generation Wealth. I definitely don't feel like I'm outside of it, and if I were, I would not be sensitive to the desire and the aspiration and the sense of getting caught up in it, but I'm also conscious of it and try to put it in check. With a laugh, she added, "I mean, sometimes my kids will say, 'You're going to buy that?' It's a conversation that we have." With that, we end today's video. Don't forget to join in next time for more of such interesting content.